Just before the holidays, my brother messaged me. Don't show up unless you've contributed something worthwhile. That same afternoon, my parents called, asking me to cover his debt. I sent a single penny with a note. Best of luck, pal. A week later, he invited me to a reconciliation dinner saying, family stays united. They all sat silently as I opened my satchel. The bank had just informed me I was tied to a massive loan linked to his new property. I stayed quiet, then slid a folder across the table and said, "Thought you'd like a copy." I stared at his text for a full minute, trying to process it. 10 words, sharp as a blade. No greeting, no explanation, just a smug directive cloaked as sibling wisdom. That same day, as I was still half chuckling, half stunned by his nerve, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Mom. I didn't need to read the message to feel the knot in my stomach. I knew that tone. The "we need to discuss something serious" kind. The "we're about to lean on you" kind. Her text read, "Darling, your brother's house payment is due. He's overwhelmed. Can you help out this month? Just until he's steady." I sank back in my chair, eyeing my untouched coffee. My brother Marcus, the family's golden child, the one who always sidestepped accountability, was in trouble again. And as usual, I was the one expected to fix it. He'd bought a new house 2 months earlier. Extravagant, overpriced, far beyond his means. I knew it. Our parents knew it. Even Marcus knew it, but he wanted to flaunt it, to prove he was outshining me. I opened my banking app, scrolled to my backup account labeled Rainy Days. Instead of sending the $2,100 they'd implied, I transferred 1 cent. With a note. "Best of luck, pal." The quiet that followed was golden. No calls, no furious texts, nothing. Until a week later. Marcus sent an invitation to a peace dinner. Said he wanted to mend things before the holidays. Said family stays united. My parents backed him up. Mom even used her forgiveness, heals the soul line. I didn't respond immediately. I wanted to see how far this charade would stretch. So I went. The house was decked out to the nines. Fairy lights, candles, festive spreads. They were all seated when I arrived, clutching my worn leather bag, the one I never brought to family gatherings. Marcus greeted me at the door. "Hey, good to see you." His smile was wide, like he'd already scripted the evening's happy ending. A family reunion for the memory books. We sat, small talk, forced grins. Dad raised his glass, gave a speech about togetherness. I waited, then, as the roast was served, I pulled out a folder from my bag. Cream-colored, heavy, silent. "Thought you'd like a copy," I said, sliding it across the table. They stared at it like it might detonate. It didn't. But the papers inside? They were explosive. I didn't need to spell out what the folder held. The bank's fraud department logo was clear on the first page. In bold, my name, my signature. Except it wasn't mine. A 6-figure loan I hadn't applied for. And the address on the mortgage? Marcus's new house. The silence was deafening. Even the kids, Marcus's twins, stopped squirming. Dad reached for his glasses, hands shaking, flipping open the folder like he didn't already know its contents. Marcus's grin wavered. "What's this?" "Oh, you know," I said. "Cool as stone." Mom gasped as she scanned the pages. "This has to be an error." "No way." "Marcus, tell him it's not." But Marcus was silent, staring at the documents, blinking like he could rewrite them with sheer will. "This is a bank notice," I continued. "Apparently, I co-signed your mortgage, except I didn't." Dad looked up. "That's impossible. You must have signed something. Maybe you forgot." I laughed. Forgot applying for a loan I didn't need? Forgot tying myself to 6 figures of debt for a house I'll never step foot in? I turned to Marcus. "Let me guess. You used that old power of attorney from when Mom had surgery. The one meant to be temporary. The one you conveniently kept." Marcus's mouth opened, then shut. It was temporary. I just needed help to qualify. The bank was relentless, and I thought, "You thought I wouldn't catch on?" He leaned forward, frantic now. I was going to sort it out. I just needed approval. Once I refinanced, it'd be in my name only. I swear. My signature was forged on legal documents, I said, unflinching. Dad slammed his hand on the table. "Enough. Both of you." His voice boomed. "This is a holiday. We're not doing this here." "Right," I said. "Because we never do this here. We don't talk about how Marcus has been draining me since we were kids. We don't talk about how you all act like I'm the bad guy for not funding his every mistake." Mom's lips quivered. "That's not fair." "Isn't it?" I shot back. I counted on my fingers. "High school, I skipped college because you asked me to bail Marcus out of his car loan after he totaled the one you got him. A year later, I co-signed for his trade school. He quit in a month, leaving me with the bill. Then his eviction, who covered the deposit? Who got him a job at my firm only for him to siphon petty cash? Dad tried to interrupt, but I pressed on. And every time, you said the same thing. He's your brother. He's finding his way. Be patient. Well, he's 34 now. How much longer does he get to find his way at my expense? You're not perfect either, Marcus snapped, voice rising. You always acted superior. Just because you got your life together. Just because you didn't mess up. I turned to him. I don't think I'm better. I just stopped expecting others to fix my messes. You don't get what it's like to be under pressure, Marcus hissed. I had to prove I could make it too. I needed that house. I needed to show I wasn't a failure. What you did might be fraud, I said. No, I mean, Marcus ran a hand through his hair. It's not like that. Mom reached for my hand. We can resolve this. Let's not ruin the season. Ruin it? I laughed sharply. The season was ruined the moment you all sat here pretending nothing happened. The moment you asked me for money after Marcus told me not to come unless I was useful. Dad's jaw clenched. He didn't mean it that way. He was under stress. He meant exactly that, I said. I stood. So did I when I sent him a penny. I faced Marcus. You have 30 days to get my name off that loan. I've already contacted a lawyer in the bank. If you don't act, I will. Legally. I grabbed the folder, tucked it back in my bag, and headed for the door. No one stopped me. No one spoke. And just like that, the holiday was over. I didn't expect it to spiral this far. At first, I thought I could just walk away, let them stew in their own shame, if they even felt any. But you don't grow up in a family like mine without knowing the playbook. Because 2 days later, the calls started. First, Mom. Honey, can we talk? Your brother's struggling right now. Then Dad. We need to hash this out like adults. Then Marcus. He had the gall to send a video message. A video, sitting in his half-furnished living room, crocodile tears in his eyes, holding a beer like he was auditioning for a drama. Look, I screwed up. I panicked. I thought you'd never agree if I asked, and the bank was hounding me. But it's still me, your brother. You'd really turn me in over this? I stared at the screen, dumbfounded. A screw-up? You don't accidentally forge a mortgage application in someone else's name. You don't accidentally drag your sibling into 6 figures of debt. He was playing his usual part, Marcus, the well-meaning dreamer who never quite got it right. And everyone always let him off. Except me. Not this time. So I sent my own video. Calm. Director. No theatrics. I've already reported the issue to the bank. They're investigating. I've submitted handwriting samples, a timeline, and email proof. You have 10 days to remove my name. If not, I take legal action. No more excuses, just facts. That's when things escalated. They showed up at my apartment the next night. I heard the banging before I even muted the TV, peered through the peephole. There they were, Marcus, Mom, Dad. I didn't open the door. Dad yelled through it. This isn't how families settle things. I laughed, hand over my mouth. Mom's voice came next. Please, sweetheart, we can't let this tear us apart. Then Marcus. You're really going to destroy my life over some documents? You're not perfect either, you know. That did it. I swung the door open. They looked like they'd been caught robbing a charity. I didn't speak at first, just stood in the hallway, cold air brushing my legs. Finally, I said, You already tore the family apart. I'm just calling it what it is. Dad stepped closer. Son, be rational. Rationale? I asked. Let's talk rational. I pulled out my phone, tapped a few times, and held it up. This is the recording of Marcus telling me not to show up unless I was useful. Want to hear it again? Their faces shifted. All 3. And this, I continued, switching apps, is the bank's email confirming the forgery. It's admissible. Marcus was sweating. Come on, we're brothers. I locked eyes with him. Brothers don't steal from each other. Brothers don't lie. Brothers don't drag each other into financial disasters and call it a misunderstanding. He tried to speak, but I cut him off. You're going to leave now. You're going to fix this with the bank. Get my name off that loan. If I don't have a notarized release in 10 days, I go to the police. Mom gasped. You wouldn't. He's your brother. I would, I said. And I'd sleep soundly. You'll ruin the family, she cried. I tilted my head. There's nothing left to ruin. You just don't like seeing the pieces. Then I pulled the final card. I reached into an envelope taped to my doorframe and handed them a copy. A certified letter from my attorney, suing Marcus for fraud and damages, including emotional distress. You made grown-up choices. Time to face grown-up consequences. They stood there, frozen, like statues. I closed the door, locked it, went to make coffee. That night, for the first time in years, I slept without tension in my jaw. For the first time in years, my phone stayed quiet. No daily pleas from Mom. No manipulative voicemails from Dad about family loyalty. No texts from Marcus with passive-aggressive emojis and typos. Just silence. And let me tell you, silence is a drug. At first, I kept waiting for the next blow. Maybe the police would call, maybe the bank would tangle me in bureaucracy. But none of that came. What did come was this. Marcus broke. On the 5th day after my legal notice, I got a call. Not from him, he didn't have the nerve. It was his realtor. Apparently, Marcus had panicked and listed the house for sale. She asked, politely, if I'd sign a release to speed things up. I told her I'd do it as soon as Marcus provided notarized paperwork removing me from the loan. Fair exchange. Within 24 hours, I had a PDF in my inbox. Notarized, signed, stamped, a clean break. But that wasn't the real win. The real win came when Dad showed up at my workplace. No call, no text, just walked in one afternoon, looking decades older than last time. I was in a client meeting. My assistant tried to stop him, but he barged in. Son, we need to talk. The client blinked. Should I? I nodded. Give us 5. Dad closed the door and scanned my office like it was foreign territory, like he just realized his youngest son had built something real. Didn't know you had this setup, he said, eyeing the shelves. Looks sharp. It is sharp, I replied. He nodded, still standing. Your mother's not coping well. There it was, the guilt card. She's upset, he went on. Thinks you've gone too far. We all do. I stayed silent. He kept talking. Marcus is talking about leaving the state. Says you've turned the family against him. I haven't said a word to anyone about this, I said. If they're turning on him, that's his doing. Dad finally sat. He's still your brother. He crossed a line. He flinched. We raised you better than this, he said quietly. You used to be forgiving. No, I said. I used to be a doormat. There's a difference. Silence again. Then he leaned forward. She cried. You know, your mother. Real tears. I bet she did. It's hard watching your son stand up for himself. He looked up, exhausted. You're angry. I was. Now I'm free. He stood slowly. We were trying to keep things together. No, I said. You were trying to keep me in line so Marcus didn't have to carry his weight. Then I said it, the thing I'd held back for years. I'm not your safety net, not your spare wallet, not your fallback plan. I'm your son. And you treated me like an ATM. He didn't respond, just stared at me like I was a stranger. I'm not coming back, I said. I'm done playing the dutiful son. He left without a word, and something in me relaxed. Weeks passed. My lawyer secured a non-disparagement agreement to stop Marcus's social media pity parties. His post about family betrayal disappeared overnight. I heard the house sold at a loss. The market had tanked. Then the messages started. Cousin Elise. I had no idea what he did to you. Coffee sometime? My aunt. Not everyone bought his story. Hope you're okay. Even my ex. Took courage to do that. I never saw that fire in you before. I didn't reply to most, but I smiled. Because that's what happens when you stop playing the antagonist in someone else's redemption story and start writing your own. I moved to a new apartment. Same city, but brighter. Big windows, clean lines, no ghosts in the corners. I bought new furniture, not hand-me-downs, not borrowed, not laced with obligations. Mine. I started sleeping better, eating better. My therapist said I seemed unburdened. And here's the wild part. I started mentoring a kid in my building. Sharp, shy, a bit too eager to please, like me at that age. One day, after we worked on his college essay, he asked, "How'd you get so good at setting limits?" I laughed. 3 decades of learning the hard way, but the real full circle moment? Last week I got a wedding invite. Not Marcus's, God no. It was from his ex-girlfriend, the one he ditched 3 years ago after she told him she was pregnant. Turns out, she raised their kid alone. She found me on LinkedIn. The note read, "You were always the good one. Thank you for not treating people like pawns. You probably don't recall, but when I came to dinner that night, you cleared the table while we watched a movie. That stuck with me. I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. Just held the card, letting the calm settle over me. Because the truth is, I won. Not with vengeance, not with yelling, not with torching bridges, but by walking away while they still held the lighter. I used to think being the good one was the goal. Head down, help out, don't complain, don't question, keep giving until someone notices or you feel enough. That myth died the day I sent Marcus a penny. I spent years carrying weights I didn't choose, paying for decisions I didn't make, soaking up blame like a sponge for a family that never checked if I was okay. For what? Respect? Love? A place to belong? I got none of it. What I got was a forged loan, a holiday shakedown, and a seat at a table where everyone knew I was being screwed and stayed silent. No more. Never again. The first time I said no, really said it, something changed. Not just in how they saw me, but in how I saw myself. I stopped apologizing for having boundaries, stopped doubting my gut, stopped trying to save people who'd let me sink the moment it suited them. And something strange happened. The burden lifted. I lost 15 pounds in 3 months without trying. My neck stopped aching. My teeth stopped grinding at night. Carrying a family's dysfunction is heavier than it seems. I started rebuilding. Not just my finances, but my life. The apartment? Simple, but serene. Every item chosen with purpose. No gilt furniture, no strings. I got a coffee maker because I love coffee, not because someone needed me to cut back to fund their mistakes. I joined a martial arts class, not to fight, but to feel what it's like to hold my ground. And slowly, the right people appeared. My neighbor invited me for dinner with his family. No hidden agenda, just good food and stories. A colleague gave me a holiday card. You seem different lately, happier. Hope it lasts. I said, me too. My family? They went quiet for a bit. Then the calls crept back. Mom, with her gentle tone, acting like nothing happened, asked if I'd come to spring brunch. I asked if Marcus would be there. She said, of course. I said, then I'm not. Dad called, said he missed me, said the house felt hollow without me. I asked if he missed me or the version of me who never said no. He hung up. Marcus never called. I heard he moved in with a buddy after the house sold. Started a blog about rising from setbacks. The irony was almost too much. Eventually, they stopped reaching out, and the silence became a gift. But here's the moment that lingers, the true close. It was a random Tuesday, rain pattering on my balcony. I was reading when a letter slid through my mail slot. No sender. I opened it. 1 page, typed. You did what I never could. You said no. You walked away. You showed me it's possible. Thank you. No signature. Maybe my cousin, maybe my aunt, maybe one of Marcus's exes. Someone still caught in that toxic cycle, seeing me break free and realizing they could too. I folded the letter and tucked it into the drawer where I keep reminders of who I was. Then I poured a drink, not to toast, but to reflect. Because healing isn't about erasing what they did. It's about not needing their apology. It's about not craving love that should have been given freely. It's about becoming who you were meant to be once you stop bleeding for others. I used to think the worst thing was losing my family. Now I know the worst thing would have been never cutting the ties. Now I live in truth. And that truth is clear. I'm not their bank. I'm not theirs at all. I'm mine, and I'll never go back. Not for money, not for peace, not for guilt. I closed that book, and I didn't look back. For the first time, I felt free.